Back everyone, we got another video. This is going to be the Transoxiana campaign. The Umayyad Caliphate. Glad you're here with me. We're about to be at the end of this, so make sure you've watched all the other episodes prior to this. We are on our third season. We are on like our crazily almost the last episode. It's been a fun ride. Let's jump right into it. Make sure you hit that like button. Let go.
724, the first. After the death of Caliph Yazid in 724, the first consequence of...
By the way, another guy that couldn't last like a few years. Like, these caliphs don't stay on the throne long. It's a demanding, deathly job.
His successor Hisham's rise to power would be something of a disaster. During the last year of Yazid's reign, a major expedition into Transoxiana had been planned by the then governor, Muslim ibn Sa'id al-Kilabi. The army raised, like most Umayyad armies, included significant detachments from tribes loyal to both the Qays and Yamani tribal
They're gonna defect, aren't they?
Federations of Arabia, two rival groups that had grown in power and spread across the domains of the Caliphate with every conquest. In the past, the Yamani had been the favoured faction of the Umayyad Caliphs, with the Qays even siding with the Zubayrids during the Second Fitna. Though following the Second Fitna's conclusion, the Umayyads opted to make efforts to reconcile with the Qays and win their support, rather than punishing them for their rebellion. Yet the Caliphate's efforts to remain neutral and above the feud were felt as a betrayal by the loyal Yamani. This would lead to serious tension when, shortly after the campaign was launched, the throne changed hands, and the new Caliph had al-Kilabi replaced as governor. Though removed from his post, al-Kilabi decided to continue with his campaign, but this would cause the simmering rivalries between the Qays and Yamani to spring to life. As al-Kilabi belonged to the Qaysi, the Yamani contingent under Amr ibn Muslim refused to follow him across the Oxus after his demotion, preferring to wait for him to be recalled and follow his replacement into battle instead. The first fighting in al-Kilabi's grand campaign would occur outside Balkh and be Arab against Arab, with al-Kilabi and his loyal followers bringing the Yamani to heel by force.
So many infighting. Imagine that there was never any infighting. Domination. There would be no one to oppose the Caliphate.
A poor start to a doomed campaign. Weakened by internal conflict, and with many of the defeated Yamani deserting, al-Kilabi's diminished army joined with Sogdian and Hephthalite allies from still loyal principalities such as Samarkand and Saganian to march against Turgesh-aligned Fergana. No sooner would they arrive than their hopes were dashed by the news that Khan Suluk, Khan of the Turgesh and their turncoat former ally, was prepared for them and already en route with a large army. Tasking his Persian quartermaster Abdallah to organize a retreat, al-Kilabi attempted to withdraw his forces in good order, but was harried for 9 days by Turgesh horsemen during this retreat.
That's so crazy though, like, you got all the way there and then you turned around?
With parts of his army being attacked piecemeal, as some of the lesser tribes and local allies were split from the main force. Crossing the Jaxates would mean relative safety for the retreating army, and they ended the 9th day close by, though al-Kilabi opted to make camp rather than travel by darkness and risk nighttime raids. This would prove a mistake though, as the Turgesh-aligned forces of Fergana and Tashkent used this opportunity to maneuver themselves between the river and the retreating Arabs. Al-Kilabi's army, already exhausted from more than a week of forced marching, awoke to find enemies both before and behind them, their path of retreat and access to water cut off.
Y'all should have got some water at the local Walmart and you would have been able to be good. Problem was, there was no local Walmart.
With no other options, al-Kilabi ordered his exhausted army forward, beginning a battle that would be remembered as the Day of Thirst. The day was won by the Muslims, but the cost was heavy. The rearguard's commander, Umayyad ibn Abdallah, died in battle to hold off the Turgesh pursuers, but the bulk of the army eventually succeeded in breaking through the enemy lines to cross the river.
Those maneuvers.
Ultimately, the heavy casualties and abandonment by local allies meant this Pyrrhic victory on the Jaxates massively weakened caliphal power in Transoxiana, with the Arabs withdrawing to more secure frontiers around Balkh as former vassals abandoned the caliphate in favour of the Turgesh, and by extension the Tang Empire of China's sphere of influence, despite the new governor Asad ibn Abdullah's best efforts to rebuild trust and good relations with the Caliphate's local Sogdian allies over the next 3 years. The worsening rivalry between the Qaysi and Yamani federations would be of further concern as well, with some tribal leaders among the spurned Yaman Federation joining the Mohammedads in clandestine support for the Abbasid clan's whispers of revolution, and one even turning to the Kharijite heresy and embarking on a short, doomed rebellion in Yemen the following year.
Transoxiana. A place that we wouldn't really think about when we think about Muslim rule. And it's been just like a juggle fest ever since they got in that area.
The years 724 to approximately 727 saw the Caliphate remain fairly stable and secure, if not entirely at peace. Cyprus was raided by sea, and attacks on the Byzantines by the long-serving general Maslama ibn Abd al-Malik continued in Anatolia.
Are you gonna try again?
With Caesarea being conquered in mid-726. The Eastern Roman Empire was far from toothless, however. Emperor Leo the Isaurian, who had beaten back the massive siege of Constantinople some years prior, had ended the years of anarchy that saw so many emperors raised and deposed, and brought a measure of stability back to the Caliphate's oldest rival.
Nice.
Under pressure, and unable to compete with the Caliphate in direct military might, Leo's hopes lay with his ally on the Caliphate's northern frontier, the Khazar Khaganate. 727 would see the Caucasus Mountains become a major battleground for the still recently enthroned Hisham, part of the ongoing Arab-Khazar wars that will be the focus of an upcoming series.
Oh, okay.
The Khazars would not be the only threat to face the Caliphate in this period, and the following year of 728 only spelled further trouble, both in the north and east, with even Samarkand, which had long served as the stronghold and regional capital for the Caliphate in Transoxiana, erupting in unrest. Following the Day of Thirst, Governor Asad ibn Abdallah al-Kasri had initially succeeded in stabilizing the Umayyad hold, but with the tribal feud within his ranks worsening and Abbasid-backed missionaries and seditionists beginning to make their presence felt in the Caliphate's Far East, al-Kasri seems to have been overtaken by paranoia by 726, dealing out punishments to many perceived enemies, some severe and some humiliating.
We see this all the time with leaders. Once you get like that power, always looking over your shoulder, you don't know who's coming.
Flogging his predecessor's right-hand man, Nasser ibn Sayyar, having a collection of tribal leaders imprisoned and shaved bald repeatedly in mockery, and chopping off the legs and hands of a suspected seditionist.
That's just gonna make you more hated though.
These and other actions began to alienate both his forces and the locals, and led to his replacement in 728 by Ashras ibn Abdallah al-Salami.
Good.
Hoping
that guy did not need to be in power.
To inspire greater support and loyalty from the locals, Ashras sent the missionary Abu al-Saida to Samarkand and the surrounding regions to call for conversion to Islam, with al-Saida promising the lifting of the jizya tax from all converts. His efforts
I thought they already did that though.
Were remarkably successful, bringing in numerous converts and building mosques in the city. But after Samarkand's ruler Gurak complained to Ashras of falling revenues and suggested some had simply feigned conversion to escape taxation, the governor eventually...
Sorry for pausing again, but I said this all the time during this entire series. What's to say that these guys aren't just faking being Muslim so they don't get taxed, so they don't get killed? I mean, it makes sense, guys. Like, no matter what you guys believe, if you're in year 728, you were born in... I'm just gonna start talking off my head right now, but a mule right here, that little city to the left. You're born in the mule. You're an orphan. Maybe you're not an orphan. You grow up, go to a local religious place. Yeah, maybe you're Orthodox, maybe you're Jewish, maybe you're what do you call it? Maybe you are polytheism. You believe whatever you believe. Maybe you're atheist, whatever. And then an invader who has killed many of your family, who has killed many of your friends, who you've seen burn and torture people, not because they're horrible people, but that's war. they'd say, all right, you there, will you believe in our God, or will you face the consequences economically or physically? What are you going to do? Are you going to be a martyr for your religion? Maybe, but probably not. So the conversion ways that these guys are going about it may be good in some instances, but maybe there should be some, and I think it's really a leadership problem. It's not a ideological problem. I'm not saying people trying to convert people to be Muslim is bad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the way that some of these generals were doing it, or governors were doing it, were maybe a little bit too harsh. You got to come in soft sometimes, especially when people are scared. If people are scared that they're going to die, or they're going to get all their stuff taken, they'll do, okay, yes, I will be Muslim, but it's not genuine. So you really don't gain anything there. See what I'm saying? That's my soapbox.
Actually ordered the recent conversions to be ignored and the tax collection to continue as before. Outraged, more than 7,000 locals refused to pay their taxes, supported by Abu al-Saida in opposition to Ashras and the Caliphate. The imprisonment of the missionary and other leaders among the would-be rebels diffused the situation before it could devolve into bloodshed. But the disillusioned former followers of al-Saida sent offers of alliance to the Turgesh Khan Suluk to drive out the Caliphate from Samarkand, further undermining their hold. Things would only get worse in 729. Resolving to take the fight to Suluk with another offensive campaign, Ashras sent his vanguard commander, Qatan ibn Qutayba, son of the great conqueror Qutayba ibn Muslim, ahead of him across the Oxus, as he camped in Amul with the bulk of his army. Despite initial setbacks and raids on Qatan's camp, Ashras would score an initial victory in driving back the raiders and recovering their plunder as he advanced to join the vanguard, camping in the trading town of Baikand near Turkish-aligned Bukhara. But in a near repeat of the Day of Thirst, the Arab army was encircled by night, awakening to find themselves again cut off from water. In the following Battle of Baikand, despite thirst sapping the army's strength,
these guys definitely are like, based on these animations, they're probably shooting an arrow, like not forward, but like as they're driving or riding their horse. They're shooting backwards, probably, I bet, or to the side, which is very strategical.
And the Turgesh killing more than 700 in the initial bloody engagements. Qatan and Ashras separately managed to break through enemy lines and escape with their forces, each thinking the other had perished for 2 days before rejoining each other among the still Arab-held forts near Bukhara. Ashras did seize victory of a sort from this setback. Suluk's pursuit was turned back after a bloody 2-month siege at the fort of Kamaja, initially driving its Arab garrison from their trenches outside the fort and storming the gates, only for the defenders to light blazing fires in the midst of the fighting and force the Turks back. After several failed attempts to break the defenders' resolve through assaults on the walls, attempts at bribery, and a mass execution of prisoners that was copied in equally grisly fashion by the defiant garrison, Suluk was forced to withdraw, allowing Ashras to lay siege to Bukhara and even capture it in 730 after wintering at a nearby oasis. But even this short victory would soon be for naught. In the aftermath of Baikand, Gurek defected to become another ally to the Turgesh, and though the sizable Arab garrison in Samarkand under Sora ibn al-Hur still held the city itself, it was now surrounded by hostile territory and ruling over a hostile population. When Suluk marched on Samarkand in 731 to restore Gurek to the lordship of his city, the new governor, Al-Junayd ibn Abd al-Rahman, sent a large army, recorded as 28,000 strong, to relieve them.
Okay.
But the relief force would find itself besieged in turn after Suluk lifted the siege to intercept it in the steep, dry Taktakaracha pass between Kish and Samarkand. A battle broke out in the narrow pass, cavalry clashing on the more open Muslim right flank, while fierce fighting took place on foot against the cliffs on the Muslim left. Though the fighting was close, with slaves and the Arab baggage train even being offered their freedom to join the fighting, the Muslim right was soon broken and driven back, leaving Al-Junayd under pressure in the centre. With the two battered armies separating at dusk, Al-Junayd, tasting likely defeat in any further open battle, made the decision to dig trenches and fortify their camp despite the lack of a water source, sending orders to Samarkand's garrison of 12,000 to depart the city and relieve their relief force.
Will he do it though?
As the garrison sallied forth on their mission, despite Sohrab's misgivings and attempted refusal, spies sent word of their coming ahead to Suluk and Gurek, who departed from the pass to seize their true prize, meeting them in battle atop a hill not far from the camp of Al-Junayd. Here, without cliffs to protect their flanks or the numbers to match the Turkish allied army, the garrison found themselves marching into grass fires set by their foes and harried by cavalry on all sides.
I mean, this is just formidable, guys. How do you get past this?
The outnumbered force was soon shattered, run down, and slaughtered by enemy horsemen as their confused formations broke up in the thick dust and smoke. Sohrab died in battle, and although Al-Junayd would survive and escape thanks to this diversion, this decisive defeat, coupled with a religious revolt led by Al-Harith ibn Saraj in 734 that united a portion of the Arab settlers with overtaxed local converts against the weakened Umayyads, would cause the almost total collapse of power in Arab Transoxiana for nearly a decade to follow.
Yeah, Oxiana is not going to go Muslim for a while.
The most storied battle of Caliph Hisham.
Alright, so we're going to pause there, guys. We got one more video for early Muslim expansion. That's it. That's it. As far as I know, that's it. Guys, I appreciate you guys so much. It seems like, you know, we learned a little bit more about the infighting. Transoxiana just becomes a, you know, a continuation of back and forth. What I said about like conversion makes so much sense to me. Hope it made sense to you. But overall, yeah, the Umayyads, feels like they are stagnating a little bit right now. They're not losing control. They're just kind of like plateauing, you know? So we got one more video. I'll see you guys there in the next one. Until next time, peace out. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more. Bye-bye.